It's a lot of interesting work to be a Club PRO and to promote, like there, even with what's happened in the past year, there is so much happening in all the clubs, and it's been great to see. And when I was pulling examples from this, I'm sure I pulled a lot of your examples just so because of all of the great things happening across the country. But we're offering this today because there are some people don't know about all of the ideas that are out there. So as a way of sharing and as a way of just also updating you on other items related to social media, because it's more than just getting the posts out there. There's some of the background pieces that need to go into place. So today we're going to go over the role of the PRO, showcasing your club. Take a look inside the PRO toolkit to go over some of the tools you can use to make better posts and the different social media sites that you can use to get your message out there. And then we'll end off with the CGA's and the GAA's social media policy, and then finish up with the Q&A. And the other thing is I hope we can be as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. Type them into the chat and we'll get to them. And we'll also be doing some activities as well to help you, think about where you can start, with your club promotion. So to start with the role of the PRO, if you were to sit down with a job description, you would work with others on your club committee to promote the club, to make sure that all the channels where potential sponsors, potential club members, potential fans can get the message that there's Gaelic games happening in your community. It's also your job to make sure that the club is well presented and it's a positive image that goes out there and it aligns with the GAA's broader values. And that gets to the social media standards set out by the GAA. And it's also an opportunity, you also need to work with the county and divisional PROs to do initiatives. An example of it was earlier this year, I guess it was last year now, in 2020, we did the Kick the Ball Across Canada, where each club, you saw them catching and kicking the ball off, and then it would be caught by another club. So it was a video project that was a great collaboration that showcased what we as a whole in Canada can do. And it was only possible because the individual clubs pitched in and sent in their videos. So the skills of a good PRO. Good communication skills, because at its core, that's what doing the PRO work is about. Being organized, being creative, being collaborative and a team player, because there's a lot of people that need to be worked with. Proactive, looking at what's coming up and saying, okay, maybe we should get pictures of that so we can put it in a post, or is there someone who will be on the sidelines during this scrimmage so we can get a few minutes of video. Also, you need discernment about what's appropriate to post. And the biggest of all is enthusiasm about your club, because if you really think your club is awesome and is doing great things and wants to share it, then that will come through in all of your social media posts. And I can tell from a lot of the content that's being shared right now that there are so many people who are enthusiastic and want to share those good messages. And that's what, is making us successful in many aspects of our social media strategy across the country. So to get everyone warmed up, we're going to start with an activity. It's Google your club. So if you search your club name on Google, if you just want to take a minute to do it now, and just take a look at what appears on the first page and what's the first impression that people get.
Kim, I'll just let you know the slides haven't come through, so I think you may have to just kind of go this way.
If they're fine this way, that is good.
Yeah.
Can everyone see them? Is anyone having problems seeing them? Does anyone want to share what's come up on their Google search for their club?
I will, Kim. It's Angela. So if I Google my club here in Toronto, it's first few things that come up are the actual website of the club. Then there's an article that comes up, which is the history of the club. Third article down is the Facebook page, and Instagram and Twitter, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Does anyone else want to share?
So Kayla is saying website and social channels. So
okay. Yeah.
I think that's what most people will see on their first page of the search results.
So that is what is typical for most clubs. It is the club website, the Facebook page, the club Facebook, the club Instagram. We as an example picked the Van Isle Rovers, and their fifth item was their jersey shop or their gear shop with O'Neill's. So again, those are all solid things to come up with as your top search items, and that will give prospective members, people who are interested in GAA in your community, a good chance to get in touch with you and find out more what you've been doing and what your club is about.
Yeah, we had a couple other people in the chat say Grania saying YouTube videos. So those get indexed and show up on search results quite highly. And Elaine has shared there the Durham Robert Emmett's list, which is mostly so Facebook, Twitter, so your social media accounts. So it just sort of the example is just to sort of show you how being active really helps on your search results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so from that search results is you see the benefits of showcasing your club. And next I want to move into that section. So it's not just in Canada, if any of you have been a part of a club in Ireland, the role of the PRO is a lot different here, because in Ireland, you don't need to educate people about what the sport, it's part of the day-to-day life in your community, and you've grown up with it. But in Canada, most people don't know what a GAA club is, don't know what Gaelic football is, are very uncertain and unsure if someone carries a hurl near them. So we rely on social media and specialty media, such as the radio shows that I know that Carrie and Sean have called into. In Western Canada, we have the Celtic Connection, which carries a lot of the GAA sports, because those are the people who are interested in hearing our stories. So it's harder to get the word out, but it's also a great opportunity to bring the human angle to the stories in your club, because it's not just a different sport we're playing. There's the stories of the people who moved to your community, and what brought them here, what's kept them here, how playing GAA sports have enriched their lives. It's also a chance to showcase the local initiatives that matter to you. And in that case, it's best to use pictures and videos to help your story stand out, and to show on-field and off-field events, because a lot of people in Canada, that's what the GAA is to them. It's more than just a sport. It's their community. It's the group of people that they care about and socialize with. So having that link to the different human angle of it, human interest stories is good. And the other way we could use social media is by showcasing your sponsors and partner organizations. So I'll just show some examples of that. So here are some human interest posts that I found from the last few months. The Roger Casemans had a wall of gratitude. So what they were thankful for over the last year. And there was a lot of, it was interesting just to see all the different perspectives. And then like Kayla Camogie Club in Toronto had different health and mental health features. So that, and then the last one is from St. Mike's, and that was their Movember post. So it was, again, getting the faces and the words of their members out and sharing them, helps build the community and helps show prospective members that it's more than just a sport. And that brings us to the next part of showcasing your club. So you need to consider what you need to communicate, who you need to communicate it to, and how best to tell them what they need. So what, be clear what news. So if we go back up, they're talking about their wall of gratitude. So it was like, you know, there's a blurb at the top that shows what, how it's linked in and how they, you know, collected it and what their goal intention was. And then they had the picture. So that was their what. And the who, so who is it? So that was, you know, targeted to their club members, I'm guessing, or, you know, a lot of different people. So if it was a different audience, it might needed, or a different message, it might need different audiences. And that would determine how. So that might not be something that would be posted on Twitter, but it was posted on Instagram because of the following it has. And I'm just going to move this slide. So we're going to go to our next activity. Your club has decided to hold a 3-week indoor training series to introduce Gaelic football to new players and provide returning players with an opportunity to get some early training in. What are some promotional tactics you can use? So when you're starting to do this, you think of what is the basic information that everyone needs to know? Who needs to know about it? So what kind of information would you need to provide to both new players and returning players? And how would you share the information with them? What channels would you use? How would you generate some buzz around it? So does anyone want to share their thoughts on this? If you want to talk, that is okay as well. Just unmute your microphone and chime in, please.
Carrie, you're speaking, but I think you're on mute.
Yep. I was just going to suggest just call out a name randomly. Like I would just say James Foley. Do you want to share? I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
But you did anyway.
I did anyway.
Yeah. Grand.
Which club are you with, James?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing this through my work account, which is why I don't have my club title. We're Montreal Shamrocks.
Ah, okay, great.
Grand. So for like this 3-week thing, the basic information would be where, when, how much, anything people need to bring, anything they need to know about the venue itself. Who needs to know about it is you probably send something to your members internally if you have like a mailing list or an internal Facebook group or your own website. If you want to spread it beyond your club, then I would probably go with a Facebook event and maybe even pay to have the event boosted if you wanted to get new members. And then like how is going to be social media and your website if you have one. That would be my take anyway.
And James, curious, you talked about the paying for a boosted post. Have you guys tried some of that, and has that worked for you?
Yeah, we do that. In the before times, we used to have like at the start of January, we'd start off with like basically an open introductory session, and this would be kind of like our big start for a drive for the year, and we would pay to have that show up as a suggested event for people. We get a fair bit of interest and new players from that. We think it's worth doing, like not every event, but if you really wanted to reach out to people who wouldn't know about Gaelic sports, then I think it's a good shout, and you can really tailor who you target it at as well. So.
And how much would you spend just to give? I think it's great to share like even a sample budget. You know, is it $20? Is it $100? Is it?
It's closer to 100 by the end of it. We tend to do kind of like two small two windows of it. So one like before Christmas, before everyone like would go home for Christmas, and then another one then in the run up in the new year, when especially when people are looking for like, oh, you know, new year, New Year's resolutions, try and push that button. But yeah, 100 to 150 maybe, I think was the last time. We didn't bother with it this. No, we didn't bother with it this year. We did it last year. So
Okay.
so
Yeah, that's
about
great.
that much.
So I've seen some more answers come in the chat. So, good on you for putting in your answers so we don't put you on the spot. We have an answer from Ashling, the what? So when and where the training is taking place, who existing club members and recently joined club members and newbies to the city, and how concise and striking social media posts. I like that, Ashling, thank you. Heather said, who send out to a mailing list, blog post on website, on social media, how social media and Facebook events. And Ashling also had approached colleagues, universities, and different sports clubs that have similar skill sets to promote this new game to them. So thank you all for your answers. Oh, posting pictures from other past events. That just came in from Elaine. Thank you. No, so those are all, great ways of just getting, stop and, thinking instead of going back to this is how we've always promoted these events. Look at how they can, there's different ways and, strategically make sure that the information gets out to the right people.
And Kim, there's just a couple more suggestions here. Monica, encourage people to bring a friend. And I think that's really powerful. Like-minded people, if you play sports, play volleyball with one set of people, bring somebody from the other sports. You always have a higher likelihood of them sticking around. And then Grania suggested to host an open house night after so people can mix and mingle and get to know each other. Yeah, that's for sure. And that too, I mean, many clubs also have a sponsor who is a pub, so that's a natural too. Then you're supporting your sponsor as well as making the social aspect of it a real important part of the experience.
That's a really good point, Carrie. And that leads us into our next slide. Showcasing your sponsors. So with the club, when you're showcasing it, you're always also have an opportunity to showcase and thank your sponsors. And so the regular recognition that's provided to your sponsors is part of the value that they're seeking in exchange for sponsoring your club. And this can include linking, providing a link to them on your website, tagging them in social media posts, and recognizing them on tournament banners and using their hashtags. And portraying a positive image online is important to what the sponsors want to see. So if you have a good positive image on social media, sponsors will be more likely to work with you than if you didn't have a positive image. Or if your social media stream was, very sporadic and you'd only updated your Facebook 3 times in the last year, having a vibrant social media presence with a lot of followers will, help incent some sponsors to working with you. And to get sponsors, some clubs, I know Heather at the Van Isle Rovers has put out a sponsorship kit. So I just had an example of that there. And here's another couple examples of how sponsors have been recognized on social media. So by putting out a post, welcoming back a returning sponsor, or even as a logo on a player profile saying that, the sponsorship, the profile was presented by, just to have that tie-in back to the sponsors and with the club. So there's like a lot of things going on in the player profile that are just fabulous, like the images and the sponsorship link in the human interest aspect. So like if when it makes sense to tie these elements together, the more you could have, it works great. And the other thing you need to remember for when showcasing and putting all these posts is privacy and respect. So it's best to ask people before you tag them in there. So if someone is uncomfortable being tagged, try not to include pictures or have pictures of them and not tag them. And if someone untags themselves, don't go back and retag them. That just respect their decision to not, be tagged in that picture. If it's underage players, always check with their parents. We sometimes have it out as a form like, are you okay with your child appearing on our social media? That's what we do in Edmonton, and I'm sure other clubs do that as well. It's just a basic things that parents shouldn't or should have say in how their child appears online.
I'll just add to that, Kim, that there are, if anyone that has a youth club, is just making sure that the media release form is completed. CGA has that, so just making sure those, we have it in English and French, so that those are completed and kept on file.
Yeah. The other thing is to report inappropriate activity. If it offends you, it probably offends someone else. And when you're managing your club social media feed, the best way to avoid the reports of inappropriate activity is to not post anything that's inappropriate that could offend someone. And also, if it's posts that can be commented on, watch the comments to make sure no one's making inappropriate comments or taking the discussion in a way that it doesn't need to go. So moderate the comments that others are leaving and just keep an eye on it to make sure that people aren't bringing in arguments that don't need to be there into your space. And again, that follows the last point: do not allow discussion on social or political events to seep into the discussion. That it's not the place for it. And we'll follow up more on that with the social media policy later on. So now we're going to get into the PRO toolkit. There are so many different tools out there, both electronic tools and tangible items like brochures and banners. And what you need to do is make sure that everything makes sense. Like, do you need to have everything? No, you need to have what is best for your club at this time. I know my club for years hasn't had a website, but this year it's like, well, we're gathering a lot of items, and we now have a better handle on all of our pictures and history. So maybe a website is a good idea. Or if we're having, we've been making a lot of videos, maybe putting together a YouTube channel might be a way of saving them for future use. And other tools that can be in the other tools as well I mentioned. The biggest toolkit you have is each other. So promoting GAA sports is a team sport unto itself. And everyone on your who does social media for your club will have different skills, graphics, video, writing. I probably could not edit a video if I had to, but I know other people who could. So that's using the team and making sure that everyone's skills are used is also a way of keeping making your overall club team stronger. And allowing multiple people access to social media accounts means that if one person goes on holidays and misses 3 weeks of training in the summer, you're not going to have no posts, that there's always the backup there who can put something up quickly or can take something down or make adjustments or answer questions. And because there's multiple people and because they're club accounts, just make sure you use good password management when there's a change in personnel who are operating it. So email, email's really good at getting people, if you know of someone and you have their email address, it's good to get people out to known supporters. It can contain graphics, it can focus on multiple topics. There's a lot of flexibility with it. So that's targeting the people you know and keeping connected with them. And I noticed that Montreal does a really good job of getting things out, and I get their regular emails and interested to see what's going on there.
I'll just add there too, Kim, MailChimp is a free email database, and that you can get. I think it's, you have to have something like 2,000 contacts in it before you have to pay. So that's a good one if people want to start building up their mailing list, and they can deploy it, and it has very good stats and analytics as well.
Yeah, you know who opened your emails and if anyone forwarded them on, things like that. It's very helpful. The next basic tool for the electronic communications is a website. So it's like the online home for your club. There's many different aspects in one spot. So if you go back, remember your Google search we did earlier in this presentation? That's the first impression that people often have of your club. So a lot of people probably had their website come up first. And it's ideal for things that are static, that you only have to change maybe once or twice a year. The history, committee members, contact info. It could be a spot where you could let people know what Gaelic games are and have links to videos and things like that. And you could also integrate your social media feed into it for the things that are happening on a more frequent basis. So if you have a Twitter account that reminds people about training, you could have that worked into your website. So you have the things that are, you know, more static in your club, plus the transitory items that, you know, happen once a week. Or it's raining this week, we're going to meet in the pub instead of going to the pitch. So it has those little up to the minute things as well. So those can both be integrated. And here's an example of ISSC Vancouver's website, and it has all of the different pieces they have. They have home, gallery, the different sports, all of the forms, which is very handy to have on the website, their youth club, development committee, and their contacts. So I just found that one to have a lot of different pieces on the one site. The next is the Facebook page. And at the very beginning of Facebook, a lot of clubs had Facebook groups for their GAA club. And now with Facebook pages, they're so much better, because instead of it limits the number of people who can access it. And having that limitation means you can control the message better, so it isn't people saying, you know, random things. It's the message is more concise, and people don't have to sift through people, you know, asking who wants to go for a pint, or letting people know that they're moving and they're selling their truck. There's a lot of those things were happening on old Facebook groups, but the Facebook page allows for, you know, more streamlined. So there's a way of you showcasing pictures of your club, using your logo for your brand, consistent branding, providing a short information blurb, allow people to chat with you and send you messages, share photos and posts and graphics and images. And the other really good thing about Facebook is it has, when you have the page, you get a behind the scenes picture, so you can look, track your site traffic, have more options to manage information. You could schedule a post for later within Facebook. Before you used to have to go to Hootsuite to do that, but now you can do it all in the Facebook business site. You can easily edit information. So there's a lot happening in the behind the scenes page.
Kim, I'll just add that Sean O'Shea, do you want to just add what you shared on the in the chat? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, just quickly. We, I think, well, the last season we played, 2019, we decided to do some match reports. So just to give like people who maybe older members clubs who aren't able to get out to games anymore, or you know, former players, kind of like what happened in the game, and help them boost the profile of players. Because, you know, we might have players from Ireland who, and someone might search their name, and then it comes up on your Google and links to Toronto Gales. It's a great way of just profiling like what happened in the match, and kind of create a bit of a buzz around the season. Because like, obviously people like to see their name and what they scored in print. So yeah, that was kind of what we did before COVID shut down our play.
Yeah, thanks. It's really good, as you mentioned in your message there too. It's very good for Google search results. So when you have a website that has regular activity and a regular update of posts, like a blog post, it will help you rank higher in Google search. And then you can take that and share it on your social media and get, you know, much more amplification out of it, and obviously just more action and activity to your website.
Okay.
Jake?
And Jake
Sorry.
also has a comment about the Facebook Insight.
Yeah, what I've noticed is on the Insights tab on the Facebook page, you could actually break down all the posts you've done, and you could see what was popular, what was not popular, how many reactions there were, and what was shared. And what's good about that is when a post is shared, it actually reaches out to people that are not fans of your page. So you could actually sort out the posts to see what's shared the most. So you could actually bring in more newer fans, basically.
Great.
And I'll just add to that, because Jake has actually been doing some work too on the Canada GAA social media accounts. He's been doing an amazing job over the since the World Games last. And what Jake made a habit of doing is when somebody, maybe engaged with a post, but weren't a follower, then he would initiate an invitation to like the page. And that really increased the followers quite substantially, quite quickly.
That's great. Thank you, Jake. So yeah. So the other really good tool with Facebook is having the ability to have events. So that's kind of like a sub-site off of your Facebook site or page, and it is for a specific event. So it allows you to, if people can be invited and they don't need to be followers of the page. Like Jake said, that people, friends of friends who are follow your Facebook page can be invited to this link, because other people can invite their friends, and you get an idea, or you're able to post just to the people who are going. So if you're having a quiz night and some people aren't attending, and you have 3 reminders to people who are coming to the quiz night, the people who already said they're not attending won't be given those notifications. They'll just arrive to the people who are attending. So it's a very good way of sharing short-term information with people that might not be needed on the Facebook page for a long time, but it's useful in the moment. And so I just had pictures of looking at the insights on events, and then a screenshot of an event that's being held by Montreal. So that is events. Does anyone have any questions about anything, or is this all fairly straightforward? I'm sure a lot of you have worked with this before. The next social media type is Twitter. So it's a great way to link with your, so if you have, updates to your website, you can put them on Twitter, or also post Instagram posts, Facebook updates. And the other thing is you could share what is being shared by other people in the Irish community. I know the Irish ambassador in Canada posts on Twitter, or the other community partners that are active there. And also allows you to share your sponsors' Twitter feed as well. So that's, again, another way of creating value for your sponsors. And some apps allow you to share to them and Twitter simultaneously. So I believe Instagram is one of them. I haven't used my own Twitter in ages, so it's blurry for me. But it's another tool, and it's something that comes up on the searches when people are looking for you, your club.
I was just curious, I kind of put a question in the chat. Are there anybody that's using Twitter regularly for maybe a specific purpose, or do you just generally share across the 3 platforms? Or are you, using certain messages go on Twitter and the others go on the other platforms? Anyone want to share?
I can share, Carrie. I find with ours, I don't think we use Twitter much. And I think this tends to happen as PROs come and go. Some PRO might be big into Twitter, or Twitter was big at the time, so I find that depending on who's in the driving seat, it kind of fluctuates. So
yeah.
And it depends on your audience as well. Like if your club, like if your community is big into Twitter, then that's what you're driving. So you have to really know your audience, know your community, and so it kind of depends and fluctuates.
Yeah, I think that's really important about the audience. So if you're looking, to engage, say, with sponsor corporates and maybe doing outreach to politicians or media, or you want media, they live on Twitter. So if you have certain objectives, you might want to use different platforms for different objectives. So Grania commented here to say it's great for match day scores, which is true. Like, right. So if people want to look for, updates on scores, that's a great place to do that. You can, follow hashtags or whatever. Monica's saying less Twitter, more Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, makes sense. It's also to the demographic a little bit. The Twitter tends to be older demographic. Sean O'Shea, you're saying use Twitter for live feed of games, but not great. Yeah, not great for evergreen content. So just meaning, that the content that's always there, but very good for updates. Roisin, do you want to share what you're saying there? Or Michaela?
Sure, yeah, just that, like, I suppose for us, Instagram and Facebook tends to get more engagement. So I haven't really explored Twitter, but yeah, I don't think it's really as appropriate for our demo. So that's why we're not using it.
Yep.
Yeah, the comments about it being used for matches, that it's great for that because people go to Twitter at a certain time for a certain thing in many cases. So if there's a match going on and people know that you're sharing it, and that's why having, communicating out the hashtag is important so people know where to look for your club if you're updating it, or even, tagging the other team that you're playing as well so their supporters can know to follow you or to watch the stream. So that's a great idea for the match scores.
And Ashlyn Owens, I was thinking the same thing. So the question was, what about TikTok for more whimsical posts? Has anyone tried it? Have you, Ashlyn? I was thinking, we should maybe start a Canada GAA TikTok, and there could be some fun ones to do. Oh, you want to share some ideas, Ashlyn?
Well, I was just thinking, like, there's all these challenges on TikTok, so it would be a good way to kind of get the club together. Just like dance challenges or something fun like that.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree.
And so moving on, the next type of social media is Instagram. And it's a great way of sharing pictures, stories, videos, reels. And you can share multiple pictures in one post. So if you have 4 or 5 pictures of a training or an event, just to get a broader, number of people in, or, to tell, a more fulsome version of the story, it's great to do it that way. And it's also good for mobile sharing. It and Facebook are very good. You could take a live video or on the field and, share a Facebook Live, or an Instagram Live. That's a great way of getting to your audience. The one drawback Instagram has is it's harder to link to something. So if you put up a recruitment and wanted to link to your specific recruitment drive event, you would have to put in the comments, go to our Facebook page and check out the link to the event, because you can't click on them to get to URLs. That's one limitation. Most people have found workarounds from that by saying in the comments to go to the website. And it does allow you, like you see here with St. Mike's, the one URL listed. And while we're talking about all of these different visual sites, there is a tool that is used for creating free visuals with Canva. So that's canva.com, and it has thousands of templates you can use to design anything you need to put on social media. It has something like for an Instagram post. Like I have the example here of the refereeing certification course that we did in January 2020. And so we just threw in the picture and added our font, or added our words and the logo, and it was ready to go. And it probably took 25 minutes to do with two different pictures. And it's great for sharing because it's already the right size and you don't need a lot of design experience. So I'm really appreciative of Carrie for sharing that with me at our first meeting together, because it has been very helpful. And the more people are using it, the better and more eye-catching our posts are looking. The other one is there's a lot of promotional videos because that is very helpful in getting people to learn about Gaelic football and hurling and camogie, because sometimes it's one of those things you have to see to believe. And when I joined my club in 2004, I'd never played before, and it took like 3 times for my friend to convince me to play, because it's like I just couldn't picture what the sport was. But had I, had a smartphone then and been able to go to YouTube and look at, a video like the one the Calgary Chieftains produced, I'd be, oh, okay, that doesn't look, as scary as you made it sound. So there's all sorts of promotional videos out there to let people know about Gaelic football, and the Chieftains, even though this is just a static picture, there's the link there to the Facebook. Carrie, did we want to try showing it?
Yeah, I think we're probably running a little tight on time,
Yeah.
so maybe not. So yeah, Calgary has this one. They did one for hurling, and they did sort of a general club one. So just less than a minute. I think they're about 40 seconds each, and yeah, very, very impactful, and more for sort of those not really targeted. It's more to the native population in Canada, because those who've never heard of the sport. So a little different. You may not need it, with the Irish, or you would need it with the Irish population, but it's great to share.
Elaine, the link is in the slide, but we'll post that as well separately. Yeah, and the good thing about this video, it was hard to pick one still of this one to show, because there was like 40 seconds of really good. It was people, the Calgary players playing, so it didn't show the highest level of the sport. It showed the local level of the sport, which is really good for getting people who have never played interested in trying something new out.
Kim, there's a couple of comments. James, do you want to share what you put in there about the tiny URL?
Yeah, it's just a website, tiny URL, and it will take any web link you give it, and you can create a custom URL for it. So it'll be tinyurl.com/whatever you want. And that stands a better chance, I think, on Instagram for people remembering it, if you can come up with something short and memorable, rather than going like, oh, you have to find our Facebook group. It's like, here is a link to the event that you were more likely to remember.
Oh, very good.
It's good, yeah.
Good
I always
suggestion.
forget about those. Thank you.
And then Roisin, maybe you can describe the link tree, the tree link.
Sure, yeah. So
Link
basically,
tree, I think it is. Yeah.
it's one link, but it kind of branches out into like multiple other links. So if you want to drive to your website, or then maybe your Facebook page, or maybe you're featured in an article, it just gives that option to give multiple links off versus just the one.
So you put that link in the bio on Instagram. I've seen it.
I don't have it in it currently, but yeah, that's kind of what we do. If we wanted to, let's say we have an event on Facebook, but we also want to keep the website in, that's kind of how we'd branch them out.
Okay, great. Oh, and Sean O'Shea there, just, do you want to share what you shared?
Yeah, no, that's just, it's just a source. If you're wondering what images work across different platforms, like header images and stuff like that, that will give you all the latest up-to-date sizing guidelines from all the social platforms. Then you can just go into Canva and enter, like, say 1600 by 500 say pixels, so that like your image doesn't look off when you put it on a website or different social platforms. So handy, it's always up to the latest guidelines.
Yeah. The great thing about Canva too is it has all of the templates sized for them. So you can just go in there and search Twitter or search Instagram, and it'll give you the post. It gives you the layout in the correct size. Facebook events, Facebook cover, brochures, posters, all, but it has all those social sizes already redone, all done for you and set. It's a good one.
So once we have all these videos, the YouTube channel is a great place to store all of them, so they can be accessed by people at a later date, or you can send new players to say, hey, here's a link of our ladies team from last year playing. There was lots of Canadians. You might want to check out, this 5-minute clip we have on YouTube. So, and you could also create playlists of specific items such as matches or promotional videos. And it's really good for embedding into other sites such as Facebook or Twitter because it provides the coding for it if you need it. And the CGA has its own YouTube channel, and it has the different webinars that we've run if we are able to save them, or our pass around Canada, etc. And now we'll just quickly move on to the other signs. And thank you, Carrie, for sharing these with me. So as the lawn signs, it's different Gaelic football ones, and that you could put them near your training to explain what you're doing, because if you're running around a field, it's hard to explain to people passing by you in the park what you're doing, but the lawn sign can help. And it can also help for recruitment, like for the kids' camps. And here's some other signs as well, examples taken from the Vanna Rovers and the Ottawa Arrow about that they've used, and they both look great. And here are some rack card brochures. I know, was it you who developed these, Carrie?
No, this is Montreal. Yeah.
Okay.
So James, I don't know if you were involved in this, but I remember picking this up. I thought, wow, this is such a great idea. It's just a little brochure, double-sided, bilingual.
Yeah, we have them from I think one of the St. Patrick's Day parades. We would like have a bunch of lads just kicking the ball about, and then we'd hand them out, and we had a massive stack of them. So we leave them in our sponsors, Hurley's Pub here in Montreal as well. Just for people to pick up and kind of like take one with them, and then when they sober up the next day, they might look at it again. But yeah, they're dead handy, and they're, for what they are, like, you get a load of them for not a lot of money. I couldn't give you the exact number, but like they're not expensive, so I do think they're like good bang for your buck.
Yeah, they're great. And on the next slide that Kim has is what we've done is kind of made a template that if any existing club or a new club wants to quickly create a brochure, like just based on the Shamrocks idea, this is just an idea that, so we did this for the new, created it for the new U Ottawa club. And then just a little template there. So if any club wants this, and then if you go into Canva and you type in rack card, it gives the measurements for this, and you can just, edit it and for your club colors, add your logo. But this was just to sort of show what's possible. And you can print them one-sided or two-sided if you're in a bilingual city.
Okay, so we're at the end of the our PRO toolkit section. Is there any questions or any other suggestions or ideas that anyone has been using and would like to add? Okay.
Something.
Sorry?
Just quickly, a scheduler. I found it useful for other social media campaigns. If you create a scheduler and you kind of pre-plan your month out, and you kind of like target days, like whatever hashtag day it is, and whatever, like if it's Mother's Day's coming up, if St. Patrick's Day is coming up, like you kind of know what's coming up in the month ahead. And so you kind of mentally plug in and or schedule something to go out at that time, rather than having to always trying to come up with something on the day or on the fly. If you can kind of create a scheduler, it kind of helps with the insanity and the beast that can be social media sometimes.
That is really helpful. Yes, thanks for mentioning that. There's a lot of days that, you can miss because life gets busy or the season gets busy, and even deadlines and things like that. That's really good.
Or sometimes it's just hard to come up with content and you're racking your brain. And so if you just take time out and sit down and plan, like you can come up with something so that every Monday is Motivational Monday and every Thursday is Throwback Thursday. So kind of just helps you with the insanity and chaos.
Okay. Oh, and then there's some tools for scheduling that Carrie posted, Buffer and Hootsuite. I've used Hootsuite, and Facebook also has, with your page, it has ability to do scheduled posts, because sometimes I've been in there and I don't want to post all 3 things at once that I have to say, but I put them in and kind of meet them out over the week. So as we're coming up to almost an hour, I'm going to start on the social media policy. And we followed the GAA social media policy and guidelines. And at the very beginning of the chat, I sent out a link on this. So you can get copies of this, and it's a great PDF. Not all of it is applicable to the Canadian context, because it does talk about things that we don't have here. Like, they don't recommend using WhatsApp because they have the GAA app for communicating with players, but that isn't enabled for the overseas units. So that's one caveat when looking at it. And the policy applies to all counties, divisions, clubs, club officers, and individual club members. And it's just a reminder that all information on the social media channel needs to be respectful of all individuals, race, religion, cultures, etc. Again, not likely to cause events, and suitable for all ages, because people of all ages are on social media. And as PRO, you're ultimately responsible for all the content posted on the account. So even if you have a social media team, the PRO is responsible for, at the end of the day, all of the content. And this policy was put in place because the accounts represent the GAA in all their communities, and we need to ensure that the posts reflect the values and the principles of the organization. And that, again, the document goes into greater detail. If inappropriate information or inappropriate material is posted, we do take it seriously. And there have been instances in the past where clubs have been asked to take down posts because they didn't meet the guidelines, because people have found it offensive or it was not appropriate for all ages. And additionally, we also ask that you come talk to us before you create any accounts related to GAA in Canada. The example we had last year was there was a Camogie group that was a Facebook group that was started up, and we just got some more information on it and how it would align, so it didn't, detract from our branding and our messaging. And we are now at the very end. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today and for sharing your experiences doing social media and promoting your club, and it was all very helpful. I probably learned as much as you did about all of the great things that are happening across the country. But if you have any questions in the future, please feel free to reach out to me at PRO. And then I just have 2 of our social media platforms there as well. And Carrie is also a great reference point for any social media and marketing questions. She's great at it. And oh yes, please fill out the feedback form as Carrie posted. Is there any questions? Any final words that anyone would like to add?
Thanks for putting it on.
wanted to talk about one thing. I was trying to just share it in the chat box, but I can't share the visual. So we wanted to launch a little bit of a social media campaign at the Canda GAA level, and we'd like all the clubs to hopefully get on board and get excited about it and share it and get involved. So what we're going to do is launch it. It's starting with a hashtag, which is Camogie Canada style. So you may have seen that Ottawa Gales actually had done a post on that and sort of putting out a challenge to club members to kind of just, basically, anything you're doing. We have snow here, so it's kind of fun doing camogie on ice and things like that. So we're kind of asking people to post. So we took that idea. We reached out to the Camogie Association. They are very excited about, supporting it. And so we're going to start with that. And then we reached out to O'Neill's, and they're actually going to provide some prizing. So for, just basically, any post that has that hashtag, will just be one entry to win. And so the prize is going to be an O'Neill's helmet, a red and white O'Neill's helmet with a CGA logo on it. So we're going to roll it out and kick it off with this Camogie hashtag. And so kind of focus on that for, a few weeks. Then the next one will be hashtag hurling Canada style. And then the next one, a few weeks after that, would be hashtag Gaelic football Canada style. And so we really want people to just be creative, be fun. We're also going to talk to our international units colleagues and even kind of carry that on and say, well, what's hashtag Camogie Europe style, Australia style. So just kind of encourage people to get creative and what's unique about, our sports in Canada and in in each of our locales, maybe it's in Vancouver Island, you're right by the ocean, doing something, so think of try and think of your own local locations and encourage people to get creative. So the first one we're going to do is for Camogie. So, I know LaKayla's on here and some, dedicated Camogie clubs we're hoping will really support it. And then there's lots of clubs that are dual, but we'll kick off with that and just sort of see where it takes us. And hopefully people will get creative. And if anybody has, we're really encouraging of if you have some ideas that you think will work at a national level, reach out to Kim, and let's kind of work on it. We do have partnerships that we can get prizing for, and we can, do different things. So hopefully you can all support it. Any feedback, just let us know.
Excellent. So are we just about wound up, I take it?
We are at 12 o'clock.
Very good. Well, look,
time.
as you said there yourself, Kim, I found this very, very, very informative and very insightful. I hope everybody on the webinar did as well. I suppose just to close and say thank you to Kim again and Kerry and anybody who has contributed to this particular webinar. It is recorded and it can be used over and over again. Talk to your friends, make sure that people know about it. And thank you for your input. And most importantly, thank you for your time today and coming on. And we hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.